Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I thank all of you for coming today evening. And I'll try to speak today on the topic of how the mind distorts our conception of life. We need to focus on life, not on the commentary that the mind is offering about life. So this I'll speak based on 6.5 and 6.6 in the Bhagavad-gita. 6.5 is Uddhared Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadayet Atmaiva Yatmano Bandhur Atmaiva Ripuratmana. So Krishna says we should elevate ourselves with our mind and we should not degrade ourselves. What this means is he's saying that the mind is there inside us and it is going to work in different ways. And we have to choose so that it works for us and not against us. A few months ago, I was at a mental health care center in New Jersey. I gave a talk for the counselors over there, mental health care providers. After I was talking with them about different kinds of mental health problems that people have. What are the common problems and how do they manifest? How are they treated? We're having a discussion. So some people sometimes hear a voice inside their head. And when they keep hearing that voice again and again and again, then they may go to a doctor. I'm hearing this voice inside my head. What is this voice actually? So sometimes hearing a voice inside the head is considered to be a mental health disorder. Now, as I was hearing the doctor speak, I thought that actually we all hear a voice inside our head, isn't it? So I was basically, we all hear different things at different times, which sometimes distort us from the way we are meant to function. I remember the first time, maybe 25, 30 years ago, I gave a talk in public. It was before I was introduced to Bhakti. There is a college, it was a audition for an elocution competition to represent the college. And I was speaking, and I had so much to speak. It was a 7-minute audition which I had to do. And I started speaking. I was so excited. One of my conditionings is that I speak very fast. In fact, when I was recently in LA, one senior devotee, I went and met him. He attended some of my classes. He told me at that time that, I'll give you a gift that will help you very much. I said, okay. Yes. So I went to meet him in his room, and he gave me a card. And in that card, he had to slow down. He said, keep this card in front of you always. That is my gift to you. So I have this tendency that I speak very fast. I tend to think fast and speak fast. So at that time, I was supposed to start my elocution and I just started speaking. Sometimes if you get into a car, and as soon as you get in the car, the person shoots off. Then you just get jerked back. Even before you can tie the seatbelt or you can move, the car is shooting off. So like that, I started off. And I spoke for about 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And I could see nobody was connecting. Sometimes you can make out whether people are hearing or not. And somehow something inside me told me that actually, in order to catch their interest, you should speak faster. And I started speaking faster. And still nobody was paying attention. People were looking at the watch, looking at the door. I started speaking faster. And then I had prepared for a 7-minute talk, and in 2.5 minutes it was over. So then after that, I asked those who were taking the audition, okay, so how was it? He said, we didn't understand anything. So then I had recorded the audio, and then I replayed it, and I found that the last 1 minute, even I couldn't understand what I was speaking. It's just zooming past. So that is one of the striking memories for me of something inside me completely misreading the situation. The problem was I was speaking too fast, but the voice inside said, speak faster. So the very cause of the problem was aggravated. But like that, we all have had situations when something inside us told us to do something and it simply made things worse. How many of you have had any similar experience? You don't have to share it. Yeah, okay. So when we hear something, this voice inside the head, it sometimes gives us good ideas also. It's not that it's always bad, but there is something inside us. And what exactly is that? And how does it work? So basically, the Bhagavad-gita explains that our existence is the three levels: the body, the mind, and the soul. These are like if you have a computer system, the hardware, the software, and the user. So the software is something which is meant to help us better access the hardware. But if the software is malfunctioning, say if I'm working on a computer and sometimes there are some autocompletes. If I write a particular word and it completes it, it autocorrects it if I type a spelling wrong. But suppose I am writing a Word document and suddenly some other pop-up window comes up. And okay, some notification has come on Facebook, some breaking news has come, this has happened, that has happened. Then it will catch our attention. And if we pay attention, it will go there. Now, normally, most notifications come as pop-up windows. But sometimes, say some people are visually impaired, then they may have the notifications coming as voices. A new email has arrived. Or, so the voice speaks out. And now the text-to-speech softwares are also quite good, which you can read out fairly well. So when this voice comes up, say we are doing one thing and suddenly this voice starts off. And when the voice starts off on the computer, we can decide, okay, do I need to pay attention to this now or can I do it later? So to the extent we are purposeful, to the extent we are focused and doing something important, we say, okay, I'll pay attention to this later. But if we are just reading something casually, we may say, okay, I can look at that later. I can do this work later. Let me look at it right now. So similarly, our mind is like the software. The body is the hardware, the soul is the user. And the mind keeps giving us many notifications. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing. We are capable of being aware of many things. Say, if we are driving a car, then our focus is on the road ahead. But then we also have part of our vision which is looking way ahead. And if we see a series of cars there are crowding together, then we understand I have to press the brake right now. Or we will be looking at the road, but at the same time, we are aware of the signals. Okay, here there's a school area, here there's a residential area, whatever. So we are capable of having some awareness in the foreground while also having some awareness in the background. Say right now you're sitting here, you're hearing this talk. So you're aware of what is going on in the talk, but at the same time you may be aware, okay, this room is it too hot? Is it too cold? Normally, if there is no extreme stimulus coming up from the background, we don't focus on it. Say if it just becomes too crowded and starts becoming hot, then we may feel it. Or it starts becoming chilly, then we may feel it. If in the periphery of our awareness, the stimuli are not above or below the threshold of normal, then we don't pay attention to it. So right now, all of us are discussing this. This class, now you may hear the steps of somebody coming up. Now, if it's people coming up the steps, it's a normal sound. So we note it, but we don't focus on it. But suppose right now we hear somebody suddenly screaming, everybody will turn around and what happened? Because that sound is out of the ordinary. So this capacity to be aware of something in the foreground or to focus on something in the foreground while also being aware of things in the background. This is important for us Because in life, events can happen in many different directions. So just as while we are driving a car, somebody will just try to race ahead of us from the right side, or somebody will just come into our lane. So many things can go wrong. So we have capacity for being aware of many things. It's not that we are simultaneously aware of many things. Our mind works very fast. For a moment, it takes note of this thing, then it comes back. Takes note of that and comes back. So then it doesn't give too much time. Okay, I see the person coming over there on that lane, and the person is, say, jerking too much. Is this person drunk? Maybe I'll just move on to the other lane. So if we see them driving normally, just note it and we don't focus on it. So our normal functioning of the mind. Now, all this I am giving in terms of visuals, but the same we can apply in terms of audio also. Say, if we are here, if say we are hearing a lecture on our phone, and at the time the phone uses audio notification, the email has arrived from so and so. Now, if we are expecting something and that is urgent, then we will shift. Or okay, an email is arrived, that's a good notification. I'll look at it later. So basically, inside us, there are multiple inputs that are coming in, and we need to be able to process and focus on that which is the most important, or in this particular situation, that which is the most urgent. And the other inputs, we can put them aside. Maybe some of you can come ahead because there are many devotees coming still. Yes. Thank you. So when we focus on something which is for us important, then we can act effectively. But suppose some unwanted notification just comes up and starts distorting us. Say sometimes the notifications come in a computer, some notification comes and you don't find anywhere to cross to remove it only. It's just there. And then we may have to just filling the screen, just catch hold of it and just move it aside. We can't minimize it, but we can just move it aside at that. So similarly, for us, inside our mind, many voices are there. So basically, the voice I'm using as a metaphor, because the inputs can come from the eyes, they can come as a touch, you feel something warm or cold, it can come from smell. From all the five senses, inputs come. And the Bhagavad-gita says in 15.8 that the mind is the integrator of the inputs from the five senses. Shotram chakshu sparshanam cha rasanam ghranam eva cha adhisthaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate. So Shotram chakshu, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. From these, the inputs come to the mind, and the mind presents it to the soul. So you could say the mind is like the screen on which the inputs are coming in. So sometimes these inputs start becoming so insistent that we just get distorted, we just get distracted. So sometimes when we are when say somebody has hurt us, so somebody has spoken something which has really hurt us, then after that we may be a little fragile, maybe a little hypersensitive. Then if anybody else also speaks a little bit negative, we might feel very offended by that. It's not that what they spoke was offensive, but we are vulnerable at that time. So for example, say normally if you pat someone on the back or just touch them, no, it's just a gesture of greeting. But say if they have some wound on their shoulder, I pat them, it causes a much greater reaction because there is already a wound over there. So similarly for us, the mind is inside us, and the mind sometimes accentuates or aggravates certain stimuli. So if one person has spoken harshly to me, the mind starts saying, people are so bad. Nobody cares for you. Nobody loves you. Nobody respects you. And then second person does like that. Then just see what I said was right. And then if a third person does like that, and then, then the mind says, yes, see, nobody cares for you. And now, and the fourth person, maybe just a small neglect on their part. Say we are walking through a door and they are in front of us. And instead of holding the door open, they just let it loose, let it close. And we may just explode. How rude you are! Now, they may just be lost in their thoughts and they not even notice that we are behind them. So what happens? The mind can sometimes it interprets a particular thing in a particular way, and after it started telling one story. People don't care for you, and then everything that is happening, it starts interpreting it in a way that it acts as evidence for that story. So if I start believing that, say, as I said, people don't care for me, then one event, second event, third event, even if there are people there are other ways in which people care for me, the mind will silence that. The mind will not allow me to focus on that. So one of my friends is a mental health care provider. So one of his services was to act uh, as a suicide helpline attendant. So when people commit suicide, just when the thought is coming, kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself. At that time, if somehow they can talk with someone, they hear a human voice, and that human voice speaks something to deter them, then they may be saved. And he saved several people that way. So it's literally, the mind is something which can kill the body. Suicide is when the mind kills the body. Yes, problems are there out there, but the mind interprets them. This is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong, everything is wrong. What is the use of living? So suicide is when the voice inside us tells us to kill ourselves. And at that time, if you can just hear some other voice, hey, you don't have to do this. So then if that voice can be countered at that time, or that voice can be interrupted at that time, then even lives can be saved. So he was telling me that there's one girl who committed suicide and then called. She took the heavy dosage and then she called. So then they rushed to rescue her. And why did she take those pills? Because she was in a relationship with some boy, and she called that boy, and that boy didn't pick up her phone. That's it. Because of that, she thought, oh, he doesn't love me. Maybe he's with someone else. He doesn't care for me. Maybe, in future also no one will care for me. All my friends will be in happy relationships. I'll be all alone. Everybody will feel pity for me. My life will be so miserable. What is the use of living such a life? Let me commit suicide. So now somebody not picking up a phone call is such a trivial thing in a sense. No, there could be 100 reasons why somebody may not pick up a phone call. But the event is just one event. But the mind gives a spin to that event. Now, what the voice inside the head is telling whom is something which we just don't know. Everybody has this voice inside their head, and it is interpreting reality in a particular way. So as this voice keeps speaking, then whatever events are happening, see, the mind is actually playing multiple roles. The mind is not just an interpreter of reality, in the sense that it is telling this is like this, this is like this, this is like this. But the mind is also filtering reality. Filtering means it does not allow us to see certain things. Say, recently, during my last US trip, I was just driving from one place to another. One devotee was driving me, and something had happened in India which had just disturbed me very much. And we were going through California, going from one place to another, and I was just so disturbed. I was just thinking what to do, how to respond to it. And then it just went on for we started from the city. Went from LA. We're going to Carpentaria, and as we're going, I was just lost in my thoughts. And then suddenly I looked, and I saw this such a beautiful mountain, this beautiful sky, beautiful mountain. There's a sea which we could see. It was such a spectacular sight. I then asked the devotee who was driving me. He says, "When did this start?" He says, it's 25 minutes. So I was just so lost in my thoughts that I just didn't notice it at all. So what happens here? It's the voice inside us not only gives us a particular story, but it also blinds us to other things. So it starts filtering the reality. We get lost in our head, and when we're lost in our head, then you just don't see what is happening. And sometimes this happens the most when we are chanting. Because why? Actually, the chanting is meant to control the mind. I'll talk more about how bhakti helps in dealing with this voice inside the mind. But unfortunately, what happens? Say, sometimes our mind seems to wander the most when we are chanting. That is for a particular reason. See, basically, the soul is here, the mind is here, and the body is here. In the body, the tongue is there. So, when we are chanting the holy names, actually, we are not chanting. It is the tongue that is chanting. The tongue is chanting the holy names. The mind is wandering, and the soul is thinking which of the two to do. So most of the time what happens, the tongue goes on an auto chant mode and the soul starts wandering with the mind. So normally when we are doing something which requires physical attention, say if you are driving a car through a crowded place, at that time we need to be physically attentive, otherwise there can be an accident. So at that time, even if this voice inside the head is saying something, the mind is wandering here and there, we neglect it. We focus. Yes. But say if you are driving through a long, clear road with not much traffic, not much to negotiate, then what happens? The mind starts wandering. When the physical reality does not require immediate attention, then we tend to go off at the mental level. So now, during chanting, we are meant to go to the spiritual level. The sound of the holy name can help us rise to the spiritual level. But unfortunately, the sound can seem sometimes very repetitious and it may not seem very interesting. It's like when we are driving through a clear road, it may not seem very interesting. So, when chanting the holy name doesn't seem very interesting, on the other hand, the story that the mind is telling us, it seems much more interesting. So, just like sometimes we drive to a place, sometimes we are lost in our thoughts, we may get into our car, start from our home, go to office, and we reach office also, and then, how did I drive here? So caught in our thoughts, we don't even realize. We somehow, on auto mode, we went along because it's a predicted road, it's a well-known road, and there is not much disruption over this. We just took the right turns and got there. So sometimes working on the auto mode also works. It's not necessarily a problem. But when during chanting, we want to focus on the holy name. The holy name is a sound which comes from the physical level. We chant with our tongue, but that sound, if we pay attention to it, it will take us to the spiritual level. But when we don't pay attention to it, just the sound comes at the physical level and stays at the physical level. Our consciousness doesn't get invested in it. So when during chanting, we don't feel that there is any immediate consequence of inattentive chanting. It's like inattentive driving can have a serious consequence. But inattentive chanting, it also has consequence. But it doesn't seem serious in an immediate way. So therefore, when the mind starts telling its story, we just go off with the mind. So it is not that the mind wanders more during chanting. It is just that we don't feel that the physical level requires more attention, much attention. And that's why we go off with the mind. And the mind works in such a way that the more attention we pay to that voice, the louder it becomes. Say, if same situation, let's say, if I feel people don't care for me, now then the voice says, see, it's like they forgot this, don't care for you. Now, if at that time I have something important to do, let's say I have an important meeting to attend, I have an exam to give, I have some important assignment to complete, then although that voice is there, I will not pay attention to it. But if I don't have much to do, especially in much that does not require my focused attention, then that voice will be there and the voice will keep speaking. And the more I pay attention to it, the voice starts growing. It starts growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's like sometimes we have children, and some children start making faces. It's like all kind of faces they make, and they start making those faces. Now, if the parents pay some attention, it's entertaining. The child starts making more faces, more gestures. So we have a child making that already. So similarly, if we pay attention to the mind, the voice that it is speaking, it just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it can consume our consciousness completely. So this voice inside us can be actually very dangerous. And the way to deal with this voice is twofold. Before we go into the solution part, let me add a few points. As I said earlier, that the mind doesn't just transmit a voice, but it also distorts our vision. It is not only an interpreter of reality, it is also a distorter of reality. Say if many times when cricket matches are going on or any sports matches are going on, there's a commentary which goes on with it. Now, when the commentary is going on, at that time, the purpose of the commentary is to help the spectators understand the match better and enjoy the match better. Okay, this match is going on like this, and in this situation, there was this match like this, and this happened at that time. Let us see what happens here. So the commentary of the cricket match, say, is meant to increase the enjoyment, increase the absorption, increase the involvement in the match. The event which you can see with the eyes, but then there is a voice that tells, okay, this is like this, this is like this is the situation now. Now imagine that. So normally there is the cricketers who are on the sports field. There's a commentator who is by the side somewhere in the commentator's box, and there are spectators who are there all over the world. And the commentary is meant for the spectators. But suppose the commentary is heard by the players also. So the batsman is batting, and while the batsman is batting, the commentary is also coming in the ear. He's hearing it. With some high-tech devices there, they can hear it. And say the match is at a critical turn, and one batsman is batting very well, and he can take the match to victory. But the commentator says, actually, this match is already lost. So this batsman is the last hope. Once he gets out, everybody is going to collapse like a pile of cards. And this batsman is batting very well. He's hitting boundaries, he's hitting sixes, scoring very well. And the commentator says, that was just a lucky shot. Soon his luck is going to run out. How long is luck going to stay? Now, actual reality is that the batsman is leading the match to victory. But the commentator is saying, no, you're going to lose, you're going to lose, you're going to lose. Now, here, the reality is one thing, and the commentary, instead of enhancing the reality, is trying to distort the reality, is misshape the reality. So similarly, for us, the mind is a commentator. But in our life, we are not just the spectators. We are the players. And as the player, it is for us to act responsibly. It is for us to act competently. But the mind keeps giving its commentary. This is not going to work out. Say we go for book distribution for the first time. Nobody's going to take books. Nobody's going to take books. Nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody cares for you. And if somebody takes a book also, that was just lucky. It's not going to happen again. So the mind keeps speaking various things. And in that way, the mind comes between us and reality. I'm here, the reality is here. The mind is meant to be the presenter of reality. But instead of simply being a presenter, it becomes an interpreter and a distorter of reality. It interprets it. This is like this, this is like this, this is like this. But when its interpretation is distorting. So most of the times when we get mentally distressed, the primary reason for this is the mind is distorting our perception of reality. The reality may be bad also. It's bad things do happen in life. But the mind often aggravates the whatever bad is there. Say, if somebody has insulted us. Now, the insult happens in one moment. And yes, it is painful. But suppose, say, if sometimes we are going through some door, or just say in an airport, if you're sitting on a seat and you suddenly rise up, and if you're very tall, our head may bump against the upper wall. Now, if the head bumps against the wall, hey, we'll move our head away. Now, do you think there'll be anyone who will again hit the wall? Hit once, second time, again, third time, fourth time. Now, if you are hurt once, we will avoid that stimulus. We won't replay the hurt again, physical level. But actually, at the emotional level, we keep replaying the hurt. That means one person has insulted me. Yes, that's hurting me. But the mind keeps replaying it. Oh, they spoke like that to you. Oh, he must have seen it. She must have seen it. What they must have said about you. So not only the insult, the mind starts saying, you fool, why didn't you have a good comeback at that time? They spoke like that, you should have spoken like that. And it's a replay that just goes on and on and on. And hurts at the emotional level are also real. It's not that my mental level is just some abstract or conceptual. It is also, there's real effects on us. So normally at a physical level, we will never repeat the hurt. We'll be careful to avoid it. But at the mental level, when one bad thing happens, the mind keeps replaying it. And by replaying it, it aggravates the hurt. Normally at a physical level, we'll replay something which is, if it is enjoyable. Say maybe 7-8 years ago, India won the Cricket World Cup. So at that time, the Indian cricket captain hit a match-winning sixer. So that's, in cricket history, that's the clip that has been replayed the most. People just keep replaying it. Just see how we won the World Cup. So normally, if something is enjoyable, we replay it. But with respect to the mind, it sometimes just replays that which is just distressing. Now, why does it do like this? So Krishna says this is determination in the mode of ignorance. Ya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madamevacha na vimunchati durmedha dhruti sa partha tamasi. Tamasi means in the mode of ignorance. So dhruti means determination. So normally we consider determination as something very positive. So to hold on to something even when there is difficulty, that is called determination. But if I hold on to something worthwhile, that is good. If I am falling down from a cliff and somebody throws a rope and I catch hold of the rope. Now, even if there are blisters on my hand and my hand is bleeding, still I hold on to it because it's a matter of life or death for me. So holding on amidst difficulty to something which is important is determination. But suppose I am sitting comfortably in my house and I hold on to some sharp object which is causing tears to my hand. It's causing me bleeding. Holding on to that